Everyone says freedom means standing alone. But we've learned the hard way that freedom often means choosing who you stand with. Today is the story of Harlan Fitch and Mabel Fitch, where a broken past became the very thing that made love possible. Out on the unforgiving western frontier, it all began with one small act of mercy: a man stopping his horse in a dust storm. Before we kick off this adventure, don't forget to hit like on the video and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. I've seen a woman come out of a dust storm like she belonged to it, just once, and it damn near broke me. Arizona Territory, summer of 1885. I was 40 years old then, 4 years a widower trying to raise my girl Lily on a stretch of hard scrub that fought back every single day. By then I told myself I'd learned how to live with being alone. When there's no choice, a man learns to make peace with ghosts. That afternoon I was repairing a split fence rail when the sky turned the color of rusted iron. A wall of dust was rolling in from the Tucson road, the kind that scours wood bare and hollows a man out from the inside. But something moved ahead of it. A wagon wrecked and half buried. And crawling free from beneath it was her. A black dress, torn silk clinging where it shouldn't wind, tearing at dark hair gone wild. She staggered through the sagebrush like the land itself was trying to claim her. When she lifted her head and looked at me, something clenched hard in my chest. There was fear in her eyes, sure, but beneath it, something sharper. Pride, defiance. I could have ridden on. Probably should have. A beautiful woman alone in the desert, dressed in widow's black, worth more than my horse. That kind of sight spells trouble, but I've never been a man smart enough to outrun it. I spurred forward. She crumpled before I reached her. When I hauled her up onto my saddle, her weight pressed against me, and for the first time in 4 long years, something I thought had died for good stirred deep in my gut. It wasn't just desire, though, that was there. It was something worse. Hope. You can call me a fool if you like. I won't argue. She woke up in my bed. I slept out in the barn, and Lily stayed by her side like a little nurse. My daughter had inherited her mother's kindness. "Mabel Fitch," she said when I brought her coffee. "Thank you." Her voice carried an Eastern smoothness, education, money refinement. She said she was a widow from Philadelphia. I handed her the cup and noticed her hands shaking. Soft hands, but not untouched. Fresh calluses marked her palms. New ones. "That's a long way from Philadelphia," I said. "Mabel," she replied quietly. "Please." She met my eyes over the rim of the cup. "My husband died 6 months ago. Consumption." She hesitated. "He's gone. His family wanted me to marry his brother. To settle matters." I leaned against the doorway, watching her closely. "So you ran? So I ran?" She didn't flinch. A proud woman. I respected that. I sold what little I had left, bought a ticket west, thought I could start again, maybe teach school. She paused, but the wagon train was attacked 2 days south of Tucson. I ran into the desert. She exhaled slowly. "Stupid, I know. It was a clean story, well practiced, but I'd been reading Land and People too long not to see the cracks. Still, I didn't press her. Some lies aren't worth digging into. There were signs if I'd wanted to see them. The way her eyes slid to the left when she spoke of bandits. How her fingers clenched tight around the coffee cup when she said the word husband. But here's the truth. Plain and simple, I didn't care. Maybe I should have. A smarter man might have sent her on her way the moment the dust settled. But when she lifted those dark eyes to me and asked if she could stay a few days to regain her strength, I heard myself agree. 2 weeks, I told myself. Just long enough to heal, then she'd move on. You can guess how that promise held up. Mabel worked. I'll give her that. First morning she scorched the eggs so badly even the chickens turned their beaks up at them. By the end of the week she could milk the cow without catching a kick-churn butter steady and clean and mend Lily's dresses by lamplight. But it was the other moments that lodged under my skin. I taught her to shoot. Out here knowing how to defend yourself wasn't optional. My old Colt .45 sat heavy in her smaller hands. I stood close behind her, corrected her stance, guided her grip, and felt the warmth of her through the thin cotton dress she wore. My late wife's dress. It fit Mabel differently, fuller, somehow more alive. Easy, I told her, my voice rougher than I meant. Breathe out, then squeeze. She fired, like I'd broken a plate that could be replaced. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be. She brushed her tears away. It taught me something, that I deserved more than indifference. We sat there in the glow of the lamp, Lily asleep between us, and for the first time since my wife died, I felt something dangerous, like maybe I wasn't as alone in this world as I'd believed. 3 nights later, we sat on the porch, watching the desert bleed purple into dusk. She'd made ginger beer using my grandmother's old recipe. We passed the bottle back and forth like we'd known each other all our lives. Do you ever think about marrying again? She asked. The question struck sideways. Every day, I admitted. But I haven't found anyone suitable. She smiled, but there was hurt behind it. I hate that word. Her whole life, she said, had been about being acceptable, the right match, the right manners, the right quiet. What about you? I asked. Do you ever think about marrying again? Her smile faltered. I'm scared to, she said. Scared of choosing wrong a second time. Scared I don't have it in me to survive another marriage like the first. I studied her, the woman who'd crossed open desert alone, learned to shoot work and endure in the span of a few short weeks. Whoever told you that you weren't strong was a damn liar. She turned toward me, and the air between us changed. The space felt tight, charged, dangerous. Then show me, she whispered. I knew exactly what she was asking. I knew I should refuse. But when she leaned in and kissed me, soft, uncertain, and aching all at once, I lost whatever sense I had left. I kissed her back. Slow at first, then deeper, my hand sliding into her hair as her body pressed against mine. 4 years of loneliness hit me like a sudden flood. She tasted of ginger wood smoke, and something untamed I couldn't name. When we finally pulled apart, both of us breathing hard, reality came crashing in. I started. Don't, she said quietly. Don't apologize. Don't call it a mistake. Just don't. You don't owe me anything, I said. She touched a finger to my lips. What if I wanted to owe something? She kissed me again, gentler this time, lingering, then turned and went inside. I stayed on that porch until sunrise, wanting her so badly it hurt, wondering how a man like me was supposed to survive losing a woman like that. Because men like me don't get to keep women like her. The next morning I rode into Tucson for supplies, flour, cornmeal cloth to make Lily a new dress. Mostly I needed distance from Mabel before I did something reckless. Wade Lorick was outside the cantina, an old friend from my Army days. Tucson being what it was, nothing stayed secret long. Picked up a border guest, he said casually. Widow from back east, I replied. Helping out. He watched me a moment, then drew a folded paper from his vest. Need you to see something? The wanted poster hit me like a mule's kick. Mabel Fitch, no Catherine Margaret Ashford, railroad heiress, daughter of Silas Blackwood, the man who owned more rail than God. Reward $5,000. The photograph was unmistakable. Younger, dressed in silk, but the eyes were the same. I'd know them anywhere. Ran out on her engagement party 3 months back, Lorick said. Father's in a panic. Hired Pinkertons. Thinks she headed west. Why'd she run? I asked. He shrugged. Rich girl nonsense. Probably didn't like the color of her fiancé's carriage. Then he looked at me hard. You seen her 5,000 buys a ranch twice your size. Sets a kid's future straight. Schooling back east. The kind of life Lily's mother would have wanted. Haven't seen anyone like that, I said. I lied. Lorik studied me, then nodded. Figured you'd say so. You're a good man, Harlan. He clapped my shoulder and walked away. I stayed where I was, staring down at the poster in my hands, feeling the ground tilt beneath my boots. She had lied. About all of it. Not a widow. Not fleeing debts or desperation. A railroad heiress pretending at hardship. Playing frontier poor like it was a game until winter came and stripped the romance down to bone. I should have been furious. I should have ridden straight home and demanded the truth. But instead I felt hollow, because I already knew what had to be done, and it was going to tear something vital out of me. I didn't say a word that night. I watched her move through my kitchen like she belonged there. Every small motion, every glance, every breath felt like a lie now. And yet she had never looked more real. After Lily went to sleep, I laid the poster flat on the table between us. Mabel went pale. She didn't deny it. She just stood there waiting. A life most folks would sell their souls for, I said quietly. And you traded it for this. I swept a hand around the cabin, rough boards, plain furniture, kerosene smoke, and sweat baked into the walls. She raised her chin. That same stubborn pride. I did. Why? Because that life was killing me. Her voice trembled, but it didn't break. Do you know what it's like to be an ornament, a prize passed between powerful men? She swallowed. My father chose Arthur Bell the way he chose his horses, bloodline's prophet, the senator's son, I said. She nodded. He looked at me like a painting he planned to buy. Pretty, expensive, something to hang on a wall. So you ran. So I ran. She met my eyes. And I found something here I never had back east. She hesitated. Work that mattered. A child who needed me. A man who... She stopped herself, breath-catching. A man who saw me. Not her name. Not her father's money. Just her. I wanted to believe her. God help me, I did. But I'd been burned by sweet words before. There's $5,000 on your head, I said quietly. You know what that kind of money means out here. Something passed through her eyes. Pain, then understanding. So you'll take it, she said softly. I don't blame you. You've got Lily to think about. That's right, I said. I do. I stood. And what happens when your father comes looking? When Silas Blackwood learns you're here with a man he can crush, he could take everything. I continued. My land, my daughter. I know. Her voice cracked. That's why I should leave. Before he finds me. Before I destroy what little you have. There it was, the simple choice. Let her go. Take the money if I wanted. Protect my child. Protect myself. But as I looked at her standing there in my dead wife's dress, tears bright in her eyes, she refused to shed. I remembered something else. My wife's last words. She had taken my hand, fever raging through her, and whispered her last words. Don't let the grief shrink you. Don't stop living just because I did. You're right, I said. You should go. Something broke behind Mabel's eyes. She nodded and turned toward the door. But you're wrong about one thing, I added. She stopped and looked back. You didn't lie to me. Not about what mattered. You said you were running from people who wanted to own you. That was true. You said you wanted a new start. That was true too. I stepped closer. And when you kissed me, I leaned in. She swallowed. That was true as well. Yes, she whispered. That was the truest thing either of us has done, I said. And here's what else is true. I don't want your father's money. I don't want the reward. What I want is for you to choose this life with open eyes. The winters, the loneliness, the hunger, me, Lily, this cabin, all of it. And if one day you wake up and realize it was the wrong choice, I want you to be strong enough to say so. She searched my face. And you? She asked softly. What will you choose? I already did, I said. The moment I pulled you onto my horse. Maybe even before that. Maybe the instant I saw you walk out of that storm like an answer to a prayer I didn't know I'd made. She closed the distance between us, placed her hands against my chest, felt my heart pounding. He'll come for me, she said. He'll try to take everything. Let him, I answered. I've already lost everything once. I lived through it. Learned the only things worth keeping are the people you're willing to fight for. She kissed me then, nothing like before. Desperate, fierce, like she was drowning and I was the only thing keeping her above water. I lifted her. She wasn't heavy, but she was solid. Real. Mine. I carried her to the bed. Hours maybe if she stayed. If we survived what was coming. That night we held each other like two people trying to prove something. That we were alive. That we mattered. That love, messy, complicated, unreasonable love was worth more than comfort or safety or sense. Afterward she lay against me, her dark hair spread across my chest. I choose this, she whispered. I choose you, even knowing what's coming. Especially because I know. I held her closer. Then we'll face it together. I didn't tell her how afraid I was. How I could feel another storm gathering out beyond the horizon, larger, darker than the one that had driven her into my life. You might think that made me brave. It didn't. I was just too damn stubborn, and too much in love to run. We had 6 weeks. 6 weeks pretending the world beyond my ranch had no claim on us. 6 weeks of Mabel learning how to live as someone new. Or maybe as the woman she'd always been beneath the silk and money. She told me about the suffocation of her old life, and we promised each other we'd be different. We don't have to become what they shaped us into, I said. No, she agreed. We don't. Then one morning I heard horses. A lot of them. I grabbed my Winchester. Mabel, take Lily. Back room. Now. But she was already staring out the window. Too late, she said. He's here. Silas Blackwood rode up with 12 men, private guards by the look of them, tailored coats, polished boots, expensive horses. Everything about them cost more than most folks earned in a lifetime. Men like that never knew hunger or fear. Blackwood dismounted like he owned the land. Maybe in his world he did. Men like him eventually owned everything. He didn't knock. Just stepped inside my cabin, eyes cold and calculating, taking stock of rough furniture and plain walls. Then his gaze settled on his daughter standing in a cotton dress that cost less than his boots. Mabel, he said. No anger, only disappointment. Somehow worse. Father, she answered. This is my home now. She moved to my side, her hand finding mine. Blackwood let out a sharp laugh. This hovel. You're worth more than this entire territory, child. Edmund Pike is waiting in New York. The wedding can still happen. I don't love him, she said. Love, he sneered like it tasted foul. Love is an excuse people without obligations use to justify foolishness. You'll come to value security, comfort, your proper place. I finally found my voice. The lady said no. Blackwood turned to me, then studying me the way a rattler studies something too close to its den. And who are you to speak for my daughter? A man who cares what she wants, I said. What she chooses. His smile was thin and cruel. She wants silk, champagne, servants. This fantasy ends when winter sets in, and there's no coal for the fire, no parties, no society, just cold isolation and regret. I felt Mabel's grip tighten around my hand. "You don't know me at all, Father," she said. "I know you better than you know yourself," he replied calmly, pulling a stack of papers from his coat, legal documents already prepared. "I own the bank that holds your mortgage, Mr. Fitch. Call me whatever you like." Silas Blackwood's voice was calm, precise. "I know exactly where this leads. One telegram, that's all it takes. I foreclose. You lose this land." He let the words settle. "No income, no property. Tell me, how do you expect to keep your daughter? The courts will declare you unfit. Lily will be sent to an orphanage while you rot in debtor's prison." Cold flooded my veins. Not for myself. I'd survived worse than prison. But Lily. "You'd do that," Mabel said, her voice shaking. "You'd destroy an innocent man just to get your way. I would do anything," Blackwood replied evenly, "to protect my daughter from a mistake that will ruin her life." And that was the cruel truth. That was what burned. Maybe Mabel could endure the poverty, the isolation, but could I live with myself watching her slowly realize she'd sacrificed everything for a man who couldn't give her the world she deserved? Maybe... My voice came out rough. "Maybe your father's right." Her breath caught. "Maybe you should go." The pain in her eyes cut deeper than any knife. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't do this. This isn't your world," I said, forcing the words out. "It never was. You're wrong." "Am I?" I shot back. "Because right now your father's offering you everything I can't: safety, security, a future that doesn't depend on surviving another winter." She stared at me like I'd struck her. "I thought you were different," she said quietly. "I thought you saw me." "I see you," I said. "That's the problem. You're too good for this." I turned away. I couldn't stand to watch what I was doing to her. "Go on," I muttered. "Go." For a long moment she didn't move. Then, with a dignity that shattered me, she walked toward the door. At the threshold, she stopped. "I was wrong," she said softly. "You're just like the rest. You think you know what's best for me better than I do." Then she was gone. The cabin felt like a tomb. Blackwood nodded, once satisfied. "You did the sensible thing." "Get out," I said. "The money," I said, "get out." I raised my Winchester. "Before I forget what passes for civilization out here." He left, all of them did. And I was alone again. Just me, Lily, and the echoing emptiness where Mabel had been. 3 months later, Lily fell sick. Bad sick. A fever that wouldn't break. A cough that rattled like death in her chest. The nearest doctor was 2 days' ride away, and I didn't have the money for medicine. I sat beside her bed watching my child burn, praying to a God I'd abandoned years before. That's when the telegram arrived. I don't know how Mabel found out. Maybe she had people watching. Maybe she just knew. But within hours, a doctor rode in from Denver, Dr. Amos Reed. The finest money could buy. Medicine, equipment, hope. I found Mabel in my kitchen stirring soup the way Lily liked it. How I began, my voice breaking. "She's better," I said quietly. "The fever broke this morning." "Mabel, don't." She kept stirring the pot, eyes fixed on the soup. "I didn't do it for you. I know. I did it for her," she said. "Children shouldn't pay for the mistakes of grown people." I stepped closer. "I made a mistake." "Yes," she said flatly. "You did. I sent you away because I was afraid I admitted. Afraid of losing you. Afraid I wasn't enough. Afraid you'd wake up one day and regret choosing me." She finally turned to face me. Her eyes had changed harder now. "So you decided for me," she asked. "You chose what I could endure, just like he always did." I swallowed and reached into my coat, pulling out a folded letter. "Your father wrote after you left. Silas Blackwood." She stiffened. "He said you'd opened a school in Philadelphia for poor girls, teaching them how to stand on their own." Her breath hitched. "He said you refused to marry Edmund Pike, refused to marry anyone, told him you couldn't because you'd left your heart in Arizona." Her eyes filled and she turned away. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't do this. Do what make me hope again. I can't survive being turned away twice." I gently turned her back toward me. "Then don't hope I said. Just answer me honestly." "Do you still choose this?" I asked. "This life me even after what I did. It doesn't matter what I choose," she said quietly. "Not if you're just going to send me away again." "I won't," I said. "I swear it, I won't. Because these months without you taught me something I continued. I'd rather lose everything, the ranch, the money, all of it, and have you, than keep it all and lose you." She studied me. "Do you know what frightens me now?" I said. "The man I become when you're gone. Cold, hollow, dead inside. I'm scared too," she whispered. "Scared you'll resent me someday, for the life you gave up, for the danger my father brings." "Let him come," I said. "Let him take the land. I'll find more. We'll build something new, together." She searched my face. "You mean that I do?" "Then marry me," I said. "Not because you need protection, not because I'm forcing anything, but because when I picture the future, every version of it worth living has you in it." She kissed me, then soft, uncertain, like she feared I might vanish. "Yes," she whispered against my mouth. "Yes, to all of it." The wedding was small. The whole town came, ranchers, miners, the women who'd taught Mabel how to can vegetables and cure meat. She wore a dress she'd sewn herself, wildflowers woven into her hair instead of the pearls she'd grown up with. Her father was there too. Silas Blackwood stood at the back of the church, stiff in his expensive suit, looking more out of place than he ever had in his life. He watched his daughter marry a man who had nothing to offer her but love and a hard refusal to quit. After the vows, Silas Blackwood stepped toward us. "You'll take care of her?" he asked. "With my life," I said. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. He pressed an envelope into Mabel's hands. "Your grandmother's inheritance," he said gruffly. "She wanted you to have it if you ever married for love. Inside was the deed to the land I'd only ever rented, now mine free and clear. There was also enough money to expand the ranch, enough maybe to build the school Mabel had dreamed about." "I was wrong," he said, voice low. "About what you needed. Maybe about what strength really looks like." His eyes shifted to me. "Maybe about you too." Spring came to the territory like a promise kept. Mabel taught school beneath a cottonwood tree. Lily called her mama like it had always been that way. And she called me Pa. I learned something in those years, that the things you're most afraid of losing are often the ones you need to hold with an open hand. If you're wondering whether we lived happily ever after, that's not how real life works. We argued, we struggled. Some winters were brutal, but we faced them side by side. And that made all the difference. I'm an old man now telling this story because there's something worth passing on. Love, real love, has nothing to do with perfect timing or grand gestures. It's about choosing someone day after day, especially on the hard days. Mabel's asleep in the next room as I speak. We've been married 23 years. She still sings in French sometimes. She still wakes from dreams of her father's world. But she's here, with me. And I'm still the luckiest stubborn bastard in the whole territory. Love can come like a storm, sudden, violent, reshaping everything in its path. But the true test isn't surviving it. It's what you build once the sky clears. We built something that lasted. Together. And if this life taught me anything, it's this: the greatest freedom isn't standing alone. It's choosing who you'll face the world with and having them choose you right back. Finally, let me send my deep thanks to you. Thank you for being here and letting this story live within your heart. If it moved you, I hope you'll walk beside us through more journeys of the Wild West stories, filled with truth, endurance, and grace. Subscribe, share your thoughts, and stay close. Together we'll keep riding across these wide-open lands of memory and hope. Thank you. Aviso legal barra disclaimer. Our narratives bring inspiration from the past, recreated with fictional and dramatized interpretations for entertainment purposes only. iTools serve as creative support, but the storytelling, editing, and emotional refinement are handled by our team to guarantee authenticity. We comply with content policies for A. I use avoiding impersonations, identity fabrication, or historically misleading images. All visual and audio content is legally sourced. Redistribution or modification requires prior written approval. Thank you for honoring creativity, collaboration, and storytelling done with heart.